In my previous 2 installments of Unepic Adventures for the Sega Game Gear, I introduced you the best and worst RPGs the library has to offer, which means that now it's time to begin our exploration of the rest. Well, not exactly the rest. The Game Gear has a ton of adventures that were sadly never localized officially in English. Hey, there's a failed system. You take what you're served and you like it. Unless you want to go down that whole fan-translated route. And you do, but that's a topic for another video. Anyway, featured on today's chopping block is Shining Force Sword of Hajya. Sword of... What I meant to say was sort of I can't fucking pronounce this title. The first Shining Force Gaiden in a series of 3 Shining Force Gaidens, and the only Shining Force Gaiden to be officially released in English on the Game Gear. But hey, if you really like the game, you can download the other 2 in English courtesy of the good people at Shining Force Central. And if you really like the game, do yourself a favor and play the full adventure on Sega CD with Shining Force CD, a beautiful remake of Gaiden 1 and 2 with some bonus battles thrown in just for funsies. Which brings me to my first minor gripe of this review. Shining Force Sword of Unpronounceability jumps straight into the action of an ongoing storyline. Prince Nick's sword hand has apparently been turned to stone. You're given zero explanation as to why or how this curse has befallen our unplayable hero, and it's up to you, the mysterious outsider, to protect the titular sword that Nick can no longer wield when the demon forces of Iome show up and, predictably, steal it. The chase is now on as you and the Shining Force of Cyprus track down the sword through a series of battles strangely reminiscent of Shining Force 1. Well, maybe not that strangely, but I'll explain later. While Iome proceeds to possess the royalty of neighboring kingdoms and sacrifice their leaders in a blood ritual for summoning the big bad nasty at the end of the game. Yes, the story is hectic, but it plunges straight into the action, which for mobile gaming is preferable. After all, every 30 minutes lost on a stock Game Gear are 6 good batteries wasted. And because the Game Gear was such a gluttonous juice hog, you'll find zero downtime for town exploration or amusing side quests, both of which I should mention are defining features in the numbered entries of the series. But that's okay. The brief exposition skits in between battles are an entertaining enough diversion to the otherwise unrelenting combat. The plot rolls along at a tumultuous pace, leaving loads of quality time for the player to engage with the meat of any good Shining Force experience: casual strategy battles. That's not to say that Shining games are necessarily easy. You will die, especially if you're not adjusting your tactical approach with every new map. But unlike the more hardcore strategy games such as Langrisser, Tactics, or Fire Emblem, there's no permadeath. You're free to repeatedly sacrifice less valuable characters like chess pawns, or retreat and reassess after a major screw-up. And don't kid yourself, these screw-ups will happen. Enemy magic is often OP, with ridiculously massive area effect boxes. And some battles are simply so creative that you won't see the true danger coming until after you've died once or twice. Especially after the storyline decides to throw your hand-picked character roster completely out the window and force a team of underutilized scrubs upon you. Yay! So why do I use the word casual if the battles are often brutal? Because there's no real penalty for dying. Sure, it costs a bit of money to resurrect, but you retain all earned gold and XP after death or regress. Given that safety net, the combat just feels a lot calmer. Basically, every time you retry a failed battle, you come back stronger and better prepared. Mentally, because whatever healing consumables you may have spent are gone, and you can't necessarily repurchase them because the game doesn't give you shop access between every battle. And that sucks. I think strategy aficionados will find a lot to love, as each skirmish is mostly unique. Each layout really feels as if it was specifically crafted to further the story as well as present a new challenge to the player, such as these hidden traps that always seem to throw a wrench in your initial battle approach. Longtime fans of the series will mostly be swimming in a feel-good haze of deja vu, as many challenges harken back to key sequences of the original game. Some maps feel downright plagiarized, like this 3-battle stretch of entering a port town, fighting on the docks, and being ambushed by giant conch monsters and flying bats. Boy, those look damn near identical, don't they? While other battles are only similar in their overall choreography. That is to say that the stage and players may be different, but the routines are borrowed. Consider the Iome statue sequence, in which the Cyprus army attempts to cross through a mountain pass while a nasty weaponized statue counts down to a devastating AoE. Sounds a bit like the chapter of Shining Force where Max and his friends try to pass through a mountain while a big-ass laser counts down too. Yep, another devastating AoE. But I'm not complaining. It's a great battle, in both games. And this isn't merely a case of Sega being lazy. These similarities are absolutely intentional, as Shining Force Gaiden 1 and 2 are direct sequels to Shining Force 1. This connection is almost lost in translation with the sort of how far can I stretch a joke, but pretty obvious from the get-go when playing Shining Force CD, as the intro explains this to be the case. Yet another example of why only localizing half the adventure was a really weird choice for Sega to make. Is Shining Force Gaiden 2 the best damn strategy RPG ever made? Hells no. It's not even the best Shining game. But it's fun, and fast, and in the small pond that is the Game Gear library, it's a fucking piranha. Actually, never mind, that's a terrible analogy. The ferocity of the piranha is a myth, and they're tiny little fish. But you get my point. It's another good RPG on a system that was lousy for the genre. Just like Defenders of Oasis.